Welcome to our first program this year. Titus 2, Make Ready. And we are very excited that you're here, those that are present and those that will be watching or listening later on. I see Petra all the way in the other side of the continent of the world. So we are so thankful that you all took time to be with us. And the scripture that we're going to start with in Titus 2, this part of our title, it says, "But as for you, proclaim the things which are fitting for sound doctrine. Older men are to be temperate, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, in perseverance. Older women, likewise," that means all that I said before goes to us too, "are to be reverent in their behavior, not malicious gossips, nor enslaved to much wine, teaching what is good, so that they may encourage the young women to learn to love their husbands, to love their children, to be sensible, pure, workers at home, kind, being subject to their own husbands, so that the word of God will not be dishonored." And the make ready is the other part of this. So we are using our mentorship relationship, but also the desire for the bride to be ready. In Revelation 19:7, "Let us rejoice and be glad and give him glory, for the wedding day of the Lamb has come. His bride has made herself ready." And those are the two bookends of our program that we're going to bring you every month, a different topic. We are in November, and this is what month?
Thanksgiving.
Yay!
Pumpkin.
So this is going to be a really good beginning of thanking him for everything that we have and all that he is to us. So Abba, we come before you and we thank you. We thank you that we have the grid of your word to give us a good boundary. And you have given us your love, the freedom that we have to move around your word, to move around each other, to encourage one another. And most of all, the gift of friendship. Thank you, Father. We need that. We are to be connected. We are to be a growing river that has tributaries, that water comes in, water goes out, and has a purpose and a final destination, which is the ocean. And the ocean or the seas in scripture are the nations. So we desire that as we get ourselves ready, we are filling up with your living water, so that out of the abundance that you give us, we can share with others and we can bring others in. So we thank you, Father, for this time together. And we want to introduce to you, we're going to set up, how this calls are going to be like every time we get together. But today we have a guest, and our guest is Annie Paris. And Paris, can you say hello to everyone, Annie?
Hello. Hi.
And we have invited her because this first, we have divided different areas that we want to work on and make ourselves ready.
The bride is not just spiritual, but it's a physical, we are physical beings. And so there's a lot of elements to preparing the bride. And so the first, 3 that we're going to do is focusing on the body, the physical body. So the next 3 would probably, is it the mental or spiritual? I can't remember.
We are going to go from body to soul,
Okay,
and then spirit.
Yes.
So in the body we have 3.
Yeah.
So this first one is
feeding our temple,
Mhm.
the body.
Mhm.
And it's our focus on what you're fueling yourself with. And Miss Annie's got a passion for healthy eating. And we know a lot of us in this group all are sharing fun recipes and are all wanting to be healthier. So she's coming on board with us to talk about what she's passionate about and share a little about the why we should care about what we're fueling our bodies with, knowing that they're a temple to the Messiah. So
Yes.
we're excited. And with it being month of Thanksgiving, we're all going to be eating lots of yummy foods. And so she's going to hopefully give us some tips on what we can do to maintain healthy eating in the midst of the fun holiday season. So
Yes. And we will, since we are, and I said that we, on our little reel of what we are here for.
Yeah.
I'm driving to meet with Mary Catherine. So we are in Mary Catherine's house, and we want to welcome you with a cup of coffee or tea and with some goodies. And she made today, what is it?
we got some yummy, healthy pumpkin muffins. I don't know if y'all can see. When you run out of muffin paper cups, just use parchment paper. That's what this is, folded parchment paper.
But these are, I've actually shared this healthy pumpkin muffin recipe on Band in the past, but I'm gonna reshare it after the call today so you guys can try it. It's so good. And then we actually have some beef summer sausages, some raw cheddar cheese, some yummy crackers, and Simi, tell them this really yummy ball that you've made.
Yes, this is, I saw it on, I didn't make it. But it is cream cheese with goat cheese. It has goat cheese, cream cheese, you mix it, and then you cut up, let's see if you can see it.
I know. I wonder if y'all can, hold on, let's do this. Let's see how fun
there
this
you
can
go.
get. Can y'all see our door?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this, so this has pistachios that have been cut up. And then the actual one I saw, it was with cranberries. So dry cranberries, but I didn't have cranberries when I was making it. And I had apricot, dried apricot and dates that actually have from Israel.
Israeli.
Yay. So it is a delicious, and when you put that little ball of cheese in your mouth, it is divine.
Yeah.
So that is what we're sharing with one another. And we are encouraging you guys to find somebody in your neighborhood, go to Sisters Finder and find somebody that you can do this once a month. It's only once a month, but you can, go to each other's house and spend a couple hours just enjoying each other's company and share it with us.
Yeah, that's the whole point in this Titus 2 portion is to, because Simi and I, outside of the Rooted Cafe, this is our relationship. My husband and I and our kids, when we can, we drive 2 hours to Knoxville, to Simi's house and Keisha Gallagher's house to do Shabbats when we can. And aside from that, thank God for technology, because Simi and I will be on the phone for 4 and almost 5 hours at a time sometimes. Not recommending you have to do that, but and I've even talked to Amanda on the phone and Danielle, and so it's part of us doing this is to fuel that fire in all of us to create community, because we cannot do this alone, and we're not designed to, and we shouldn't.
And this is what Titus 2 is all about, is coming together as women and her wisdom pouring into me, and then I can pour that into, we've got an 18-year-old babysitter downstairs that I love to pour into. And so, this is the cycle as it should be.
It should be, yes. And the beauty of this is because we're all unique. Whatever Abba has poured in me and I can pour in her, then when she, she's not just
regurgitating.
she'll like, oh, the way I see that is, and then she'll give me a totally different perspective that I would have not come up with. And it's, it is awesome. And I wish, because this mentorship relationship has been really fun, not just with Mary Catherine, but with Danielle and with Amanda. And I was just looking, me, I love numbers. So I was looking at the numbers, and here she just turned 30. Danielle, you're in your 40s, right?
I'm 33.
Oh, you're 33.
Wow,
So, yes.
She's got wisdom beyond our years. Yeah.
Yes, and then Mandy, you are what?
42.
42. And I am 62. So it's just different decades. And so we see things differently from decade to decade. And that is what makes this so beautiful. Now, Danielle and Mandy are not close by that I can drive for 2 hours
Maybe
to
it
this.
used to be.
I know Mandy used to be closer and she left us. But now they are.
Who made me?
We miss you, but we can still do this through Zoom. So that's the beauty of this.
And we want you all to feel like you're a part and in our home, so please don't feel like you can't eat. Please eat, be real, be authentic. We're gonna do this together. It's doing life, so
Yes.
we should probably let Annie share.
Well, before we get there, so we're starting with the body. And I'll let you know, I'm a creation gospel instructor, so or trainer. And one of the things that I can't help it, because after you've seen that paradigm, you cannot unseen it. It's like everything works that way. And so on day one, we have wisdom, right? It's the spirit of wisdom that we see in Isaiah 1. So when I think of that, I think of, okay, if we're going to start this, we're going to start from, and the word is our grid, right? So what comes to my mind is James 3:16. Do you want to read that one?
For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there is disorder and every evil thing. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peace-loving, gentle,
Reasonable, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial, free of hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace.
Yes. So if we can think of, we do have our own wisdom and we have our Father's wisdom. What James calls here, or Jacob calls here, the wisdom from above. And those are, all those lovely words are the way we need to treat each other, and we need to treat those that we are trying to witness to and be salt and light to them. So being that the case, we also, so we're starting day one, light was separated from darkness, and we want to look at different areas, like today will be diet, our bodies, and thinking about that, not just for Thanksgiving, but next month is Hanukkah. And I remember we did we went from house to house a couple years ago and did Hanukkah, and we ate so much sugar, and so it was so bad. We had all had escaped getting sick when this whole nonsense happened with the bug. And
but you got stopped up at Hanukkah from the sugar.
we did. We all got sick. And we were like, it could be because somebody had it there, somebody, and then it's like, no, we ate so bad. It was already winter starting, you know, you're putting all that sugar.
Less vitamin D.
Less vitamin D. Our immune system just crushes, not just because whenever there is a change of temperature greater than 30 degrees, your immune system has to work harder. Therefore, it gets weakened. So that didn't help. Then
Oily foods, because isn't Hanukkah when they do lots of
fried donuts. Everybody was
Yeah.
bringing fried donuts and lots of. I bought a bag of those little chocolates that you use to play with dreidels. We're going to get onto all that next month, but it was just too much. So our diet was horrible. Our bodies were already fighting the change of temperature, and then, you know, all that sugar was not the best. So all that to say, we need to have wisdom from above and be good to this body that is our vehicle, right? And then, so we have man's wisdom and our Father's wisdom. So we need to choose properly. And then we also, this month, we enter his gates with thanksgiving in our hearts. So that is a beautiful way to start a whole year is by being thankful. So we want to thank you, Annie, for being here with us. And what can you share with us from all the boundaries and all the scriptures and all the parameters, which you're bringing more scriptures into it too? Please
Yes.
enlighten us.
Yes.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. Just joining with you ladies, the importance of this opportunity to cultivate what we bring into our homes, what we provide for our families cannot be understated. Like, we set the tone, we set this joyful environment up for our families, and we also very much can steer the health, the stamina, the ability to go out and do what God has given us on our hearts to do can be so much benefited by these foods that God has put in our environments. I think, Simi, you were one who pointed out, like, God has given this immune system to the plants, you know, these different nutrients he's injected into creation. So we can take part of this, we can take in this amazing food. I'm hearing your story of Hanukkah and of the celebration, and how it can go from very much like a celebration and an indulgence into becoming something that undermines what we want to do, what we want to accomplish in this world. And I really appreciate this opportunity. I came to find out about a system of eating called Trim Healthy Mama years ago, when I was in my 30s and had a toddler and a 5-year-old, and I found myself just not being able to keep up. I felt weary, and I'll just like to illustrate that point. I would get up in the morning and just ache and just feel awful. And I thought, you know, I'm too young to feel this old. And what am I doing wrong? And you know, I didn't take it. I wish I could say I prayed and I put it before the Father and he revealed, but really I reached out to my friends and I said, oh gosh, I'm feeling this. What can you share? What have you discovered? Are you suffering with this too? And God put it in the pathway of one of my friends to share a video. She'd just gone to a seminar where they spoke about, it was the creators of the Trim Healthy Mama plan. And these sisters, Pearl Barrett and Serene Allison, had been seeking how to nurture themselves and nurture their families in a way that supported their bodies well. And they mentioned, you know, like, this is what you're doing to your body when you bring in things that cause inflammation. You're creating pain, you're creating, what I come to find out, and I didn't like this answer, was that every time that I turned, that I wanted an uplift, that I wanted something to help energize and lift me up, and I reached for sugar, what I was actually creating in my body was an emergency situation. I was like, and I have I have a picture on my laptop of, like, you probably can't see this. This is like me shooting this flamethrower. You're creating, instead of like this really helpful, tamed down cooking, you know, fire when used appropriately can cook, can heat our homes, can give warmth for our family. When we go too far, we create an emergency, and our body deals with that emergency. And what my body was doing was taking in all this overabundance of sugar and creating an emergency that my body had to deal with. So,
Right.
So like I said, I didn't like that answer. I liked sugar. I liked the way it tastes. I liked the little pick me up that I could look forward to. But instead, you know, I thought about it and I prayed about it and I said, you know what? There are going to be some parameters, some boundaries I'm going to put in place. I'm not going to do something in taking food into my body that's going to be something I can't sustain and do with my whole family. I'm not going to make a meal for me and a meal for my kids every single meal. This has to be something that nurtures, something that's not going to create a worse situation in my body, right? I'd watched my mother, God rest her soul, bring in artificial sweeteners, saccharin and aspartame, you know, back in that day to replace sweet. And it did not, it was not a good thing. Fortunately, to bring in that sweetness, God's given us healthy guidelines and healthy options and alternatives. He's created, right, plants and sweeteners that can give us that sweet taste without creating this health downturn, which was one of my limitations. And it had to work. Like it had to help me with that situation. So
And
I tried it out.
Can I interrupt you a minute, Annie, because I
please.
forgot in our logistics to let people know, we are going to be, this is not going to be like Annie just talking for a certain period of time and then open to Q&A. That's how we normally do it. So just to let you know, right now, Danielle is monitoring the chat. So this is going to be, you know, we're having tea together or coffee together, and we're going to be talking, and you can ask questions. You don't have to wait until the end. So to ask, you know, something that you would like to know. One of the things that, and then what's going to happen is we're not that close to the computer. Danielle will either give you, you know, ask you to unmute if you want to ask directly, or she will ask the question for you. And then that way we can have a more interactive call where we all are, you know, stopping in at any given point. It's okay. That is how we have a conversation around in a living room, right? Go ahead.
Right.
You just
Yes.
forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. No, thank you for popping in. Yes, I think we learn so much more in conversation, especially, you know, in these kinds of situations. I was not given the Trim Healthy Mama system on Mount Sinai. This is not a holy, you know, it's not a salvation issue. This is just a way of that I have found that blesses me and has blessed my family tremendously. So I just want to share it, but it has to be something that that works for you, that blesses you and blesses your home also. So that this is kind of just, I wanted to share kind of the background, how I came about it. I wasn't born eating this way. I learned it, you know, sometimes really the hard way. Pearl and Serene, who came up with Trim Healthy Mama, they very much wanted it to be in line with scripture, with God's word. They didn't want to pick anything that was not going to line up with things that were in the word, right? Like your glycemic index, your blood sugar, what I talked about, the sugar and what it does to your body, that's in the word. You know, Proverbs 25:16. Do you like honey? Don't eat too much of it or it will make you sick. And we see that, right? Like
Yeah.
how many of us know someone who has been hit with, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, you know, this wearing and tearing of our body that is as a result of too much honey, like, and even more so, like all the sugar, because our body can take in, right, the standard American diet. How many of us, I used to have the big iced coffee with the simple syrup, like, and Danielle posted a little link that talks about Trim Healthy Mama. Thank you so much, Danielle. That like all that sugar, right? And then the breakfast cereal that, you know, some of those, like, they taste good, but how do they get there? By putting just so much, like too much honey, too much honey in there. So,
You know, and talking about that, and you know, honey, of course, it's sweet. So, but it's still on a healthy side. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that white sugar, it's really crystals, tiny, tiny little crystals. So when it goes down and it doesn't dissolve completely, those crystals stay and they literally scratch your arteries. And that is how we get high cholesterol. And you know, the poor liver has been demonized as a bad boy that gives us cholesterol. Well, did you know that cholesterol is actually a Band-Aid? So when your veins, it actually, by the time it comes through the veins, it's already been processed. So it's only when it's going through the blood, the circulatory, from the digestive into the bloodstream, that it starts scratching your arteries. And then your liver goes, whoops, Band-Aids, and he sends out Band-Aids to patch those places. Unfortunately, cholesterol is a little sticky. So things get stuck to the cholesterol, and then people say, oh, I have plaque and it's because of the cholesterol. No, the cholesterol was helping you because you ate too much sugar. So sugar is really, if you have to eat one or the other, you are better off having honey or any other sweetener, maple syrup, dates, stevia, anything that it does not scratch your arteries. I really want to leave that in your mind, so that, and then those sweeteners that you were talking, those the artificial sweeteners, you know, when you have to think about two things, it can damage your, you know, if you have the regular sugar, it's going to damage your arteries. But if you have the artificial sweetener, it's going to damage your brain. And between the two, your brain needs to be functioning or the rest of your body doesn't. So if you have to triage those two, please choose your brain and take care of your brain, and do not put any blue, pink, or yellow packet in your body. Okay. Go for it.
That's a great tip. That's such a great tip. You know, I've done, I wanted very much to make sure that what I was sweetening with were things that were going to bless our bodies and really be to our benefit. You know, God gave us these taste buds. That mother's milk is sweet, right? Like he's given us a taste bud for sweet. So what can we take in? What can we turn to? Because just going cold turkey, you know, like nothing sweet, absolutely nothing, like that, you're missing an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Stevia, you mentioned stevia. Stevia is a God-given plant. It grows in Bolivia and Peru, and they extract from it a sweetener that is 200 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. Like, it is incredible. But you know, I was doing my research and I found out that they are discovering benefits from consuming stevia in patients who suffer with like Lyme disease, like seeing benefits from this. And the benefits from, you know, there are a couple of sweeteners, you know, you do your research and offer it up to God, all these things, offer this up to God and ask him to show you. And it's incredible how much God will come through and will help you make the way, right? But xylitol is another one of these sweeteners that is derived through a fermentation process.
Yep.
It actually hardens your teeth and makes them less susceptible to damage. Erythritol is one that they've, you know, like, yeah, watch where you're sourcing and that kind of thing.
Right.
But it is one that they have studied and it has been helpful. Yeah, helpful with like your blood vessels replacing and repairing. Like, not only does it not damage, like God's put things in there, put things along this way of processing his God-given food that like it can be a benefit, it can bless us. But yes, like honey, like raw honey has so many amazing features. And you know what, like you taste a teaspoon of sugar versus a teaspoon of honey, like honey, you hit your limit, right? You're like, this is enough, right? But with sugar, sadly, we can become dulled. Like there are hormones that get triggered that we like, oh, that's not enough. It's not enough. You know, spoonful, right? So it's incredible when you research and kind of get into this, how much there is to learn, how much there is to bless ourselves and our families with little changes. You know, just experiment with sweetening with one of these more natural sweeteners. And, you know, experiment with using a little less. Experiment with the natural sweetness of the food too. So those are a couple of little ideas. What I do, when you take away something, right, you kind of create a vacuum. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. One, if you take nothing else from this, stretch into not creating an emergency in your bloodstream by spiking your blood sugar. Look into, you know, some of the fastest hitting thing that you can do are like your sodas, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper. You're gonna see that when you go for Thanksgiving, you know, they're gonna have the table of sodas probably. My extended family, they're gonna bring it in, they're gonna wanna do that. Don't pour yourself a cup of like fire for your system, right? Get some water or have a beverage that you like that doesn't do that, right?
Bring it yourself. If you go to a potluck or something like that and everybody's bringing and you know it's not healthy, that's a great idea.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I really want it to be approachable and doable, right? And that was how one of the ways that I started was just saying, let's start with what I'm drinking. Like, I'm not going to buy, and that's a limit, right? You can say, I'm not going to buy this anymore. You're 100% in control of what you put in your mouth, what you put in your shopping cart, right? Just stop purchasing it and look into what can I have, right? Like I did lemonade and sweetened it with stevia. I did tea and sweetened it with stevia. I sweetened it with some of these other sweeteners there. Like what can you do? What can you enjoy? And what kind of change outs can you make? Here again, Thanksgiving, it's a feast day. Some ladies who come to this plan, that's one of the first thing their eyes go to. Oh, can't, won't, don't, like it all feels like a big no, the big circle with the line through, like everything is no. So one of my favorite things is to kind of look at, well, what can we do? So one of my favorite things is just to kind of envision a plate. And I've
I love that.
scratched onto my plate these questions. And this is very steering for when you go, like you're faced with, spotlight. Okay. So when you're faced with the decision, like, what am I going to put on the plate? What am I going to eat? What can I eat? That kind of thing. Okay. So this little plate, I've just scratched on here, like these little guiding questions. So it's in my handwriting. I'm sorry. Next time I will do much better with this.
And
I'm
we
figuring
have-
this out.
Annie, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just gonna let the ladies know, we actually have graphics. So these are like notes from this class, everything, every scripture she's referenced. This plate graphic is in downloads. It's gonna be in Kajabi for all of y'all who want to refer back to this, because she's about to get into what even is this plan. This is what she's explaining, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Catherine. So like when you feel like you're a little overwhelmed, I've got this little graphic, overwhelmed, like there are cut through the confusion by asking 3 simple questions. So a neat thing about asking questions as opposed to like making a checklist or doing a thing like this, you open up kind of conversation in your brain. It makes it more approachable. It feels a little more comfortable.
And
So
you're using your executive brain function.
Exactly.
Where Messiah's mind is.
Right. So what I do when I'm steering what I'm cooking for my family, for myself, and like even in a Thanksgiving banquet dinner situation, right? I start by just asking myself 3 questions. And you can see behind me, like this is just, we traveled through like Central and South America. I'm going to try to pivot and took pictures along the way. All the way, no matter where I was, I could use these 3 questions and keep it really simple and doable. And so when you're building your plate, the first question that I ask, here I got little protein. Oh, it's reversed on the camera. I'm sorry. I'll work on that. So the first question on your
Annie,
little
it's
sheet
not.
is just,
It's not. It only looks
Oh.
reversed for you. Mhm.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. So first question is protein. So I ask myself, where's my protein? So anybody want to chime in? Like think Thanksgiving, what are some of your proteins? Now, here again, we're not going to talk about things that are not food. Like for us, not food would be ham, right? But what is protein? Amanda chimed in here, turkey. Yes. So protein, absolutely, turkey. We have ladies who don't do meat. I love meat as a complete protein. My body is super blessed by meat. If you're not going to do meat,
but it's a
you
good
can
substitute.
Yeah, so a great substitute, Simi. What's a great substitute for meat, for protein?
Rice and beans. When you combine rice and beans, you have the same protein that a steak. So
Yes. So it makes those aminos complete. You can do protein that way. So protein, the cool thing about protein, I learn more and more about protein as I go. So the more I learn, the more I want to learn, which is kind of cool. In Genesis 9:3, our Father says, every moving thing that lives will be food for you. As the green herb, I've given everything to you. In Exodus 16:8, Moshe says, now the Lord shall give you meat to eat in the evening. In Proverbs 27:27, we get into some dairy sources of protein. Now, there will be plenty of goat's milk for your food and your family's food and the nourishment of your servant girls. Protein for lunch today, I'm having kefir, which some of you may be familiar with that. It's a fermentation process to up that protein that comes from milk. And my ring light just died, so, but it looks like I've got enough light, so good. So that would be the first thing I would look to put on my plate. For my kids' plates, they need protein. It's
Yes.
a muscle builder. It helps with your immune system. It helps with your growth. Protein is a great thing to look for, identify, and to even teach your kids to ask, where's my protein? Protein is a great blood sugar stabilizer. So even when you introduce carbs or you bring something, oh, sorry, somebody is asking, hi, Carla, what I am drinking. So this is actually a smoothie that I made. This call is kind of during my lunch hour here. This is a smoothie. It's made of kefir. Kefir is how I pronounce it, but it sounds like the actor Kiefer Sutherland. Kefir. So it's about 1.5 cups of kefir. And then with that, I just added some organic spinach, frozen, just put it in the blender with a little dunk of stevia, little tiny spoon, and some monk fruit erythritol, which is another sweetener. And I blended it. This is blended with dark cherries. Cherry is a great anti-inflammatory. It's got all these great blessings. And this stuff tastes awesome. It's like a milkshake. So
cute.
that's my thank you. I have a lot of fun. I gotta have some good stuff to eat because I'm not gonna stick with it if it doesn't taste good. Like that's not fun. Yes.
That's right.
And Danielle said cherries are awesome for headaches or migraines. Yes. Our father has packed these incredible foods with nutrients, with little blessings right inside of our food. So the first thing I ask is, where's my protein? That just helps make sure everything's anchored and I'm getting that in on a regular basis. So here, back to Thanksgiving, put that turkey on there. That is a great protein. Now, the next thing that I would say, really in any situation, my next question is, can I add a non-starchy veggie? And again, this is part of your little downloads that we've got. And I've even got for you guys a little blanks that you guys can fill in using stuff you've got on hand, stuff you've got in the fridge. You can make yourself a little brainstorming sheet for that. So my second question is, can I add a non-starchy veggie? So like, all right, ladies, chime in. What are some non-starchy veggies? First, non-starchy veggie, that can be things that are green and leafy, right? It can also be like squash, it can be Brussels sprouts, it can be green beans, it can be a lot of things. So some of you ladies kind of like, let's make this fun and interactive. What are some non-starchy veggies that you've seen before at a Thanksgiving dinner or like you've enjoyed in the past?
Asparagus. That's my favorite.
Oh,
That's what I was gonna say.
yes. Asparagus is so amazing. Like it's so good for you. My husband tells stories of growing up in the desert of Peru and the asparagus just growing, white and green asparagus.
Wow.
Like is one of those things. And that's what I heard later in Israel. That's one of the first things that like an area be really desert-like and the asparagus would grow. And that was one of their products. But it's awesome.
So rich in so many things. Isn't that awesome? That is great.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome.
I've always bought it, I'm a city girl, so I've always bought it already in a supermarket or somewhere. But yeah, I didn't even know how it grew. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like one of those plants that you don't have to replant. It like regrows each year.
And it's kind of cool. It when you see it growing, it kind of like makes me
Yeah.
think of like the lampstand, right? With these
Mhm.
different branches coming up and
Wow.
sprouting up.
Are-
It's
are-
asparagus is great.
Would collard greens be a non-starchy? So it's like a
Yeah.
leafy green, right? That is like a
It's-
huge traditional Thanksgiving thing in the South, I feel like.
Yeah.
Collard greens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and it's so great when you bring in those kinds of leafy greens, when you think that dark color, often it's high in iron. And when you massage the leaves through the cooking process, like God has created this food that through the cooking process, sometimes it even releases more nutrients than like you would maybe necessarily get if you were able to eat that raw.
Mhm.
The cooking just really brings it out.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially that one is more easy to digest cooked
Mhm.
than raw. It's a little
They
better.
cook it with vinegar too, so that probably breaks down a lot, and releases enzymes and things.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great. Now I don't know
Awesome.
about you, at our family Thanksgiving, sometimes there's a veggie tray. So there are little carrots and celery and broccoli and cauliflower and those adorable little tomatoes. Those things are just popping with lycopene. That's
Yeah.
great for your heart. Like all of these things, I'll tell you, when I go to a potluck, this is a little more of the plate I go for. Like I put my protein and then I just an abundance piled up of all the leafy greens that I can find. And I always make a point to just drown with compliments whoever brings the leafy green whatever, right? Like, oh, that salad was amazing. Oh, thank you. Oh, I love these, and you just praise that effort of bringing those non-starchies, and it's pretty cool what sticks, right? And then the next time
Yes.
they bring again those veggies.
Right. And even for those that I have no idea what to bring because they didn't grow up with a healthy mindset of what to eat, when they hear those praises, they go, oh, this is what these people like.
Yes.
Yeah, and it continues the behavior, like.
Yeah, so we learn from each other. We need that. We need to
Yes.
know, oh, okay. Because otherwise then it's like, oh, love those donuts, love those cookies.
Yeah.
So then when we hear that, then that's what, and it's cheaper, let's face it, it's cheaper just to go and get a box of cookies or a box of donuts and then to bring in for a dessert.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
way
Yes.
of teaching. Thank you, Ed,
Yes.
for that point.
Yes. Well, and it's again this, like encourage, find the things, spotlight the things that you want to encourage, that you want to have more of. And
Mhm.
so, like I said, this is, I feel seen and I feel loved, and I want you to know how much I appreciate that you brought this veggie. My older brother said, I'll bring mashed potatoes and I'm going to bring some mashed turnips because I made some the other day and they were really good. It just tastes like a potato. And I was like, yes.
Oh, I haven't had that one.
Right?
Oh, well, this is for another, we'll talk about this in that break, because we're running time.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
But
We-
we'll have to talk about a turnip recipe. Don't let me forget an after party.
After party, we'll talk about that. So we have the non-starchy, we have the protein.
And what's next?
Mhm.
And then what you want to do, here's where we differ from those who are growing, who we want to continue to grow, our children. We want to make sure they have a lot of fuel. Our skinny men, right?
Mhm.
Those plates, we want to make sure they contain both healthy carbs and healthy fats. For those of us who are at our queenly weight,
That we're not growing like this.
right?
We will grow like this.
Right. There's where the trick comes in. In Trim Healthy Mama, what we've discovered is for us women especially, we can digest either healthy carbs or healthy fats in a meal, but not both. Our body will absorb all those sugars all from the healthy carbs, right? Refreshed with apples, or Messiah gave us that sprouted bread and fish, the protein and a healthy carb. So our body will digest that, and then whatever's not burnt up by the next, within that period, usually like 3 to 4 hour window,
It's stores.
our body stores it. Our body stores it, and our muscle cells, which is what burns those calories, that energy, anything that your muscle cells can't take in because it's full from the last meal still, your fat cells will always receive. So they're like, bring it on. I'll take it. We'll store it. We'll hold on to this because for sure she's going to need it tomorrow, right? So here's where we make our differentiation. On our kids' plates, we want them to have maybe a sweet potato, or some potatoes. We want them to have those healthy carbs, maybe some applesauce, pile that on there, and a healthy fat, right? They might have cheese and dressing on a salad. We want to bring all those healthy fats, avocado, we do a lot of healthy fats as part of our Thanksgiving dinner. Like I make a keto pumpkin pie with heavy cream in it. Like I would go with just the fats or just the carbs on my plate to allow my body to burn through that in pursuit of keeping like weight loss going, right? But my family, I want them to have both because they need all that abundance of
They need all three.
fuel.
We need
They
both,
need all-
and they need three. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
good.
So we would say, is it a healthy, for the third question, is it healthy carb or healthy fat I'm going for? And so that's how we would just complete that third question in process. Does that make sense? Do you guys feel like that flows? Sometimes I'm too close to it.
Mhm. It does. I thought you were gonna say.
No, I was looking, I didn't, because I can't see like the people, if anybody maybe had a question or anything, the gallery, I wasn't sure, but. No, you very much explained it well, unless somebody does have a question about what that looks like as far as different food examples or.
Anything has come in there, Danielle?
No, nothing has.
Okay,
One just came in. Would bean count as healthy carb and protein?
Right. Yes. So beans are a fantastic carb source, super healthy. And the beans and rice combine to make that complete protein. And that's the way that we would look at it. It's like it's your protein and your carb. Great question. Great suggestion.
Mhm.
So I am totally open if somebody wants to kind of put together, even outside of Thanksgiving, like what could a lunch look like if you walk through those questions, or if you have other questions for me. I learned so much by getting to explain this and talk through this process. So I'm happy. I'm happy to help.
I did want to share real quick, because this verse, when before we did this class or this call, the three of us with Annie had a call, and one of the verses that she quoted as like a motivator to hold on to this, how to feed my plate, was, and it's at the bottom of this list, it's Proverbs 27:7, and it says, a person who is full refuses honey, but even bitter food tastes sweet to the hungry. And that, ever since when the three of us talked, it was so, like, it stuck out to me because it made me think that for myself. Like, when you think, okay, and you said this when we talked, you were like, if you're thinking I'm gonna fill my plate first, like, because I'm hungry, at Thanksgiving, and a lot of us like won't eat because we're so busy cooking the whole day, and then it's time to go, and you're so hungry and you just want to load up on all the things. But if you remember in this, what scripture's guidelines, which are like, first, like even bitter food, even those like super leafy green things that you normally wouldn't like to eat, those things are going to taste sweet to you when you're really hungry. And so it's one of those things, like, that was a very good perspective shift in my mind, like that's, and I just wanted to share that because some of you here who may struggle with like your choice at the first, temptation, here's you a motivation, from the Lord. So I didn't want
That
this
is-
recording to go by without that verse being in here, because it is. And we also talked about the why behind, well, why, who cares? Why do we have to do this? And it was the whole purpose of that. And like we discussed earlier, we're the bride, our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So it does matter what we put inside of the temple, and Yahweh does care about how we fuel ourselves, because like Annie said earlier, it affects the way you feel as a mother. Are you lethargic and so fatigued that you don't have the patience to handle the behavioral struggles that come with toddlers or your grandchildren? You're just so, but it's because you're not fueling the temple in the way that it needs to be fueled to walk in the fruits of the Spirit in your executive brain. Your brain's not fueled, your temple, So this was a big part of this whole call, was to remember and to hone in on, like, why does this even matter? Why are we talking about healthy eating in a women's discipleship class? Because it matters.
It does.
As the bride, it really does matter. We just wanted to encourage and motivate everybody, that these are your practical, and this is one of my favorite things about Cindy's calls in the past, in the parenting calls and everything, Healing at the Well. She always gives us practical ways to implement changes in our lives. And so that's why we had Annie come and share. This is the practical method that she uses in her home, and it's worked for her. And so, we wanted to encourage other people, if this is something that you need help with, you can talk to Annie even after all this. But
Yeah, and get some more information. And I love the way you asked that question, so
Why?
what?
Yeah.
Why do we need this? And I want to remind you of, first of all, we're here with a purpose. We're not here just to get married, have children, the dog and the house at the beach and some letters after our name, we have arrived. No, that's not what we're here for. So those things do help if that's where our Father puts you in. Those circles, that's perfectly fine. But we are here to do a mission. Just imagine yourselves, we're all soldiers, and soldiers need to take care of the vehicle that's going to take us places. And one of the things that it really ministered to me and brought this big time, one day that I was reading on, you're talking about the immune system, and the plant's immune system is the oil that it has in. And those oils are there to protect the plant from predators, to give us what we need. And then I was looking into why was thieves called the oil, that blend called thieves. Well, it's really interesting. The whole story behind it is that during the bubonic plague, there, you know, those cities didn't have sewage systems. You know, when there was a lot of people that was sick and had died in a city, they would literally abandon the city and burn it up. And they would leave people that were still alive in there because they were sick. And the only ones that would go in to help those that were sick and hadn't died yet were Christians, because that is the right thing to do. We're at war in that case. They were at war with a plague that was killing people, and they needed to be healthy to be able to stay in there and take care of them, and they wouldn't succumb to the plague too. So, but then that thief blend came about because there were people that actually would lather themselves with this blend of oils, and they go in to steal in those cities the whatever
The
gold,
cinnamon,
silver, the stuff that they had left. They would even take them out of the mouth of the cadavers. And that when they were caught, they were like, how did you guys not get sick? You know, you are not just stealing in the property, you know, you are opening the mouth of dead people that had the plague.
Yeah.
How did you not get sick? And they were like, well, we do have this oil that we just put all over our bodies. And that's how it's actually trademarked by a company. But if you look it up, it's called Thieves, and you can find it on the,
it's
on
like
the
a
web.
mix. So
It's a mix.
cinnamon, and you put like a few different,
Yep.
powerhouse.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking of that, and you have to think that at that time, they thought the world was ending. They thought, this is it. We are in the apocalypse right now. We're going to die. And so bringing that thought back to today, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We just had elections yesterday, and it almost looks like it was stolen again. Goodness gracious. So, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know who does. And he wants us prepared. He wants us healthy. He wants us so that this car can take me where I need to go. And I'm able to care for those that may need help, somebody because of their health, or may need somebody to be with them, to care for them, to clean their house, to cook for them, to take them to the doctor, things like that. And if I can't move because I've eaten so bad that I have diabetes, and now my legs are inflamed and I have bad circulation, so I can't even move, what good am I? And so all I'm saying is, not just for those that are not part of the family, because in Galatians it's very clear that we help first the family. So if I'm sick, if that is my case, I want to make sure, Mary Catherine will be there for me, Danielle, Mandy, Annie, we will be there for each other. It's not just the outsiders, it's your own family. We need to care for this body so that we can stand firm until the last minute, until our eyes finally close. So, and we don't want to be also a burden. I would hate for my kids to have a burden of caring for me because I was so irresponsible with my body. Saying that, it doesn't matter what you've done. Our bodies are amazing how they can regenerate. Your liver can regenerate. That to me was like, what? Alpha lipoic acid. Take it. It detoxes you. It detoxes your liver. Your liver can regenerate, and whatever damaged it, it can be reversed, but not with medication, because our body doesn't recognize pharmaceuticals. Our bodies go, what is that? I don't know what it is. Let me store it in the fat. Like Annie said, the fat says, just give it to me. I'll take care of it. I'll store it for you. So, let's be, however long we have, whatever age you are, there is always time to change what we've done wrong. We can always pray, and our Father can reverse and heal and restore anything that we have done wrong. So with that said, so day one is the body diet, what we put inside our bodies, right? And we're gonna go next month. We will be doing the exercise. No, it's movement.
Mhm.
No, it's sleep.
Sleep and then movement.
Yes, the movement. So next month, for the month of Hanukkah, when everything is dark and winter is here and we, all the animals sleep.
Everybody else gets to hibernate.
Hibernate.
That will be us.
We are going to talk about sleep and how important sleep is for our health, to keep this body healthy, because it not only needs food, it needs rest too.
Yeah.
So with that said,
We can end the recording.
we
and go
can
to
end the recording.
After partay. I'm trying to see how many participants we have because I can't see in the view.